Let me get right into it. The name of my talk here is called Building an Automated Content Marketing Machine. And this is basically just a case study of what I've been doing with my business, Restaurant Engine. So Restaurant Engine is it's a web design service for restaurants, as you might have guessed. It's delivered in a kind of a SaaS solution, 100% self-funded, and launched it January 2012, so it's been about a little bit more than 2 years. There was a beta period before that, but really kind of collecting data for the last like 2.5 years or so. Just slow, steady growth over that time, and we're going to kind of look at how that was done, primarily focused on my content marketing effort. So I had a few goals going into that first year when I first launched. Number one, I needed to establish trust in an unknown industry. I have no background in the restaurant industry other than waiting tables when I was in college. So I'm a completely unknown name. Restaurant Engine is completely unknown. How am I going to establish trust? So that was one of the big drivers of really embracing a content marketing strategy. I wanted to keep costs down. 100% bootstrapped, self-funded. I was kind of funding this using revenue from our first customers and a little bit that I carried over from some consulting work. I wanted to avoid becoming dependent on paid channels primarily. So I wanted to build something that was, basically I just wanted to establish a steady source of traffic and customers from organic content channels, something that's sustainable, that can kind of carry through the baseline of our first customers, first traffic, and that can hopefully carry over into the long term, and that's what I built here. And most importantly, I needed to systemize, automate, and outsource as much of this process as I possibly can, because as I'm sure everybody knows, when it comes to content marketing and blogging, it's really time intensive, and I can't be bogged down writing all these articles and doing the newsletters and the videos and stuff. As a solo founder, I need to have my time, but I need to get the benefits from this kind of strategy. So we're going to go through how I did that. So we're just going to look at some of the results. Here we're looking at unique visitors for the past a little bit more than 2 years. As you can see, it's just kind of slow, steady growth. Last month, we saw 12,000 unique visitors. So not massive, but the thing to take away here is that far and away the vast majority of this traffic has come through organic and finding us through search, word of mouth, social sharing, and whatnot. This next pie chart here shows 71% come from organic sources. I actually think it's a little bit more than that, because that that doesn't include not provided. There's another 15% that are direct visits. So again, the vast majority comes through organic Google search. We're on number one for all of our key phrases that really matter for Restaurant Engine. So. And this has basically resulted in our first 100 customers and growing. So we have the last field on our sign-up form. I asked customers, how did you hear about us? And far and away, 99% of them enter Google, or they might enter like internet search, or searching the web, something like that. That tells me that this actually pays off. That is the number one source of how we're acquiring customers. And so it's really just something to build on. Again, that kind of baseline source of just organic traffic and customers. So how are we doing this? The blog obviously plays a very key role to this whole strategy. What we do is we put out a new blog post every Monday, written by my writing team, who I've been working with them for over 2 years now. They've been amazing. So they're actually the ones writing all the articles and putting them into the blog and scheduling them to publish every single Monday. I've given them a couple of procedures. One of them is for how I like to format the blog post, and that kind of includes instructions on how to source an image, how to kind of format the headers and bullets, pull a quote. I use click to tweet on a few areas to take, make certain items, certain points kind of more shareable. I mean, just formatting the blog post in the right way is not going to produce results. Of course, it's all about content and providing value and education, but this kind of gives them a standardized system to make things look, kind of uniform throughout the blog. What they do is they actually send me a preview of the article a couple days before it's scheduled to publish, and I might look it over and give them a few edits or tweaks. I might change a headline. But really, for the most part these days, I mean, I've been working with them for 2 years. I really trust that they're putting out quality content to the specifications and the strategy that I've put in place. So at this point, I pretty rarely even look at it. I just trust that, okay, we have a new blog article going up every Monday. My writers are actually also in charge of managing our editorial calendar. So we use a Google spreadsheet for this. We just have a long list of topics that they just populate. We plan topics maybe 2 months out in advance. And I might go into the spreadsheet and look through the upcoming topics and give them feedback on those, make a few changes, change how headlines are worded, or change some angles before they go ahead and write the articles. But for the most part, they're the ones populating it and just keeping this engine churning. I've given them a few tactics for coming up with highly relevant and helpful, valuable articles in our blog. One is they'll go onto forums. So these are like restaurant industry forums. They'll look for those hot topics, so questions that are just getting a lot of follow-up questions and answers. You can see in any forum which threads are the most active. Those make for somebody's asking about how to mobile optimize a site. That's a great topic for a website for a blog article. They'll also go on to industry blogs and magazines and just look for those articles that are getting the most shares and comments and whatnot. Not to take those same topics and reblog them on our blog, but just use them as kind of like jumping off points for inspiration to get something, come up with like a unique angle on a popular subject. What we're starting to do now that we've been doing this for about 2 years, is we're starting to gather data. Which of our articles are resonating most, so we can look at traffic, social shares, and really more importantly, email open rates and click-through rates. And I'll get into email now, because that's really a central part of this. Keeping the email and keeping your customers coming back to your blog, using your newsletter, it goes hand in hand with a blogging strategy. It's very, very important. So how are we actually growing our list? In the sidebar of our blog, we have an email opt-in, and we also have one at the end of articles as well. Basically, 2 things happen here. One, they can opt in for a free checklist, and what this is, it's basically a 2-page PDF, educational content for restaurant owners. It's like a checklist to look at your site and determine, okay, is it up to today's standards, and am I getting the most out of it? So they can enter their email, and they'll get that instantly. They get some piece of value today. At the same time, they can check the next box there, and it's pre-checked. Everybody goes through this. They're also opting in for a 6-lesson email course. Again, just delivering value over time. So they get that upfront piece of value today, and then they get a drip autoresponder over the next. It is dripped out for about 2 weeks. So the reason why I wanted to, not only do that instant checklist PDF and actually go through with the autoresponder is I wanted to increase email engagement. I didn't want people to join the list and kind of have like a one and done thing, like get on the list, get that PDF, and then never look at it again. I wanted them to get on the list and really engage with the list, engage with my emails. I want them to get into a habit of expecting a new piece of value every few days. It kind of sets a precedent for these subscribers to expect that every email that I send them is going to have something of value. Because after the 2-week email course, they're now on our mailing list, so they're going to get those weekly emails, promoting the latest blog article, and I'm going to get into that right now. So I mentioned that we put out a new blog article every Monday. Every Tuesday, we send out our newsletter. And that's basically just announcing, hey, check out our latest blog article. Here's what it's about. Here's a link to go read it. And really the importance of sending out once a week with your new blog article is to get those most loyal readers coming back again and again. And that's how you see that steady growth in traffic, rather than kind of hovering around a baseline level. The nice thing about how how we've systemized the newsletter is that it's completely based on a template. So I've instructed my team to, every single Tuesday, I'm completely out of this at this point. This is just handled every week. They'll go onto the blog, they'll take our most recent article, copy the headline, grab the featured image, grab the excerpt text, and link up the button, schedule to send out Tuesday morning. Now that excerpt text, what I've done there is I've actually instructed my writers to write a very compelling, 1 or 2 sentences in that excerpt. This is the excerpt in WordPress. Make it really compelling to actually click, to make you want to click and read the article. And I've instructed them that not only is this going to be used on the blog, like in the archive pages, but it's actually also going to be copied into as the text in the email newsletter. So it's being reused both ways, and they write it accordingly. So that way, my assistant who actually sets up the email newsletter doesn't have to start, coming up with creative copy and whatnot. That's already written for them. They just need to pop it into the template. Guest blogging is another important tool that I've been using to build traffic and bring new people, gain more exposure for the brand. What I've done there is I've targeted a couple of highly relevant industry blogs, and I've built up relationships with those blog editors, and it's at the point now where they expect me to come back to them. I do it every month to come back with a new pitch for a new article. I have actually my writers are the ones who write the articles for me. I'll give them the topic that I've pitched and has been accepted, and they'll write the article. I'll then actually spend a little bit more time myself editing and really making it as highly valuable as I can, because when you're guest blogging, you want to put your very best stuff out there to kind of really expose the best stuff that you have. I have a call to action at the end of my author byline. And it's not just, this is by Brian Castle, here's the link to Restaurant Engine. It's a very actionable piece of value here that I'm adding. I can't really read it, but it's get your free restaurant website checklist by visiting the Restaurant Engine blog. So it just really gives them the incentive to click through and actually check out more and then get on the list. I've set this as a repeating monthly to-do. I use followup.cc for that. So every single month, I have a reminder for myself to reach out to those blog editors and pitch another guest article. So, that's kind of the system for that right now. I mean, guest article writing is sometimes not the most scalable thing in the world, but now that I have it on this repeated to-do, it kind of helps. So here are a few improvements that I'm in the process of making right now and moving into 2014. These are some of the things that I'm doing. I'm creating a few more targeted landing pages. So aside from the actual blog itself, we're driving traffic, paid and organically, to highly targeted landing pages for more targeted email courses. So I'm actually creating several email courses now. One, on a very targeted topic like online ordering, another one specifically targeted at food trucks, because they've become kind of a growing customer segment, and a few more focused topics. So really giving them highly relevant educational content. These are things that we're doing right now. Webinars is something that I've been meaning to get into. I think it's a really beneficial part of any content marketing strategy, and something that I'm hoping to get on pretty soon. Podcasts and repurposing content. So on Restaurant Engine, I kind of experimented a little bit with this back in 2013. I'd like to do a little bit more of it. Going back into our blog archives and converting some of those articles into slide decks, and then recording some audio, kind of talking through the main points, creating those, putting those out as a podcast. That just kind of helps repurpose content and bring in viewers, listeners through different channels. So that basically concludes my talk. That's my email, brian@castjam.com. I have a much longer, more in-depth version of this case study that I posted on my blog a few months back. It's like 45 minutes long. So if you want to check that out, just shoot me an email. I'll send you the link. I have that's my blog there. I've got my my personal newsletter where I talk about bootstrapping lessons, and of course I've got the podcast as well. Thanks.